We have finally made it to the Survivor Merge on season 48, so let's get into it. Okay, so as we know, with the merge, all the remaining castaways on the varying tribes all merge onto one beach. But let's be clear, just as Jeff always does, in the new era, the merge is earned and not given per se. So just because they are merged does not mean they have officially made the merged tribe, and also does not mean they've officially made the jury. There's still some obstacles to overcome. But once we all get onto one beach, it's kind of funny because there's obviously people that are just not meeting for the first time, days into this experience, if you will. And so one kind of funny situation was we have like the milk bro bonding. So tell me more about this.
So we've got David, who we already knew was a milk lover when he went to the, the place.
The sanctuary.
The sanctuary, yes.
The place where good things happen.
Yes, the other day. Well, then we find out that Joe also drinks milk like every day. And then they just bro out about milk. It's like, I don't think I've ever known any person to love milk as much as these two do.
Isn't it interesting too, so on a more serious note, how, like, I feel like I had certain things I said last week about my predictions for when everyone got onto one beach, but it's like, I feel like we're always wrong as the viewer. And what I mean by that is like, so you have, I'm bad with the names, but whatever the Orange Tribe was previously, they had no one eliminated up to this point. But what's funny about that is that I was like, oh, there's cracks in it. Like, even if they get to that merge beach, like they won't withstand this. Well, they all get together and all of a sudden they're acting like they're all gonna vote together. And I'm like, you guys, half of you hate each other. I don't understand why this is a thing. And it just throws me because I'm like, I don't think just because you have the most numbers means you have to stick together, because you could find other numbers in new ways.
Well, with the old Siva tribe, you have at least two pairs. You have Kyle and Camilla, who are pretending to not like each other, but they're working secretly together. Then you have Mitch and Charity, who are very close together. And then you kind of have David, he's kind of doing his own thing.
And Chrissy just
And Chrissy's kind of just there as well. So they seem to pretend to be a bonded unit, but they're really not. And the cracks show throughout the episode too.
Something I'm curious on, I don't know if I was like sleeping whenever this happened or what, but backing it up to, let's say, episode 1, 2, maybe even 3, is the original Siva, I guess, Orange Tribe not aware that Kyle and Camilla were close?
I don't think so, because I don't think Kyle and Camilla really showed their bond until the tribe swap. At least I don't remember them ever showing that.
Because I remember thinking they were kind of close because Camilla helped Kyle with that original idol. But
that's true.
Maybe they did it in secret, because one thing that threw me when they got to the merge beaches, they were kind of in cahoots and they're like, I think we can keep this up. We'll keep this rod. No one's going to know. It'll be great. And I'm like, wait, did the original tribe not know that they were close though? Because they could totally out them, but maybe they didn't know, and that would help them.
Because I mean, they really seemed to form that bond once they were like, oh, we've got to stick together after the tribe swap. We're the only two from Siva. And then they were pretending to throw each other under the bus. I feel like that's really when they formed that bond more than when they were on their original tribe.
I think that's fair. The other interesting piece is once they all get to this same beach, there's a little clue, if you will, or I don't know, message on a stand that basically says that there is a hidden advantage around camp, and all 14 or 13 or however many are left, they all get the chance to roam and find it. So it kind of happened very quickly, which was
very, very
wild to me. But it basically came down to, editing-wise anyway, Say and Charity. And let me tell you, whoever edited this scene deserves a raise and deserves an Emmy, because it totally seemed like Charity was going to get it. It looked like she was starting right at it. And out of the blue sky,
literally out of nowhere,
Charity hops, I swear, 6 feet in the air. Or not Charity, I'm sorry, Say hops 6 feet in the air and runs and gets the advantage. And I was like,
she moved fast, and she literally came out of nowhere. I think it helps though she was wearing green and the grass was pretty tall.
And let me say, like, as much as Say is controversial and kind of a lot in this season, I don't think she really translates very well with people. She's good TV.
She is great
And this
TV.
moment proved that, because she totally just swept that out from Charity out of literal nowhere. And I was like, this is exciting. Okay, so then we're going to find out how Say's now advantage kind of pays off. So we get to the immunity and reward challenge, where Jeff reminds them, hey, we're at the merge, but you have not officially made the merge. So what's going to happen is the remaining bit of you're going to be divided in 2 different teams. One team lose gets nothing. No potential at a buff, no merge feast, no nothing. The other half of you, after the team part of the challenge, will then go on to compete as individuals, and the person who wins will get the soul merge buff for now, and then also all of you will get the merge feast.
Yeah.
Now, where Say's advantage comes into play is Say now gets to skip the team part and go straight to the individual immunity, which gives her a greater chance of getting the merge buff, and she automatically gets the merge feast.
I'll say she definitely got an advantage because this was a messy, challenge.
Dirty, and seemed like a lot. But I can appreciate the way they did it because also this is a big deal. Now we're at the merge.
Right.
Things are going to get even tougher. And so I'm like, I think
They
that's
made
just
them
a
work.
great example of what they're in for. So once they get to this, they do the team kind of part of the challenge first. And it is this insanely messy, muddy obstacle course.
I liked
kind of
it.
explain to me how this worked. I liked it too.
So once they start, they all have to go by pairs in this mud pit, basically. I would like to say, though, Mary glided through that.
The video of her was viral all over social media.
Yeah, she's just like, whoop. I was like, that's so impressive. But then after they all make it through the mud pit, they've got to crawl through this other obstacle course of sawdust, one at a time. Then after that, they have to get up this giant ramp. Now, this is where, for the most part, you had one team they were pretty neck and neck, and then one team pulled ahead. Once we get to the ramp part is when everything really starts to go haywire for the team that was in the lead.
Yeah.
Because Cedric.
Yeah.
It always falls back to Cedric. Yeah. So like halfway up the ramp is like the rope for them to grab onto. Cedric just becomes this limp cadaver, basically.
Yeah.
Relies on the whole entire team to lift him up, basically. Doesn't move an inch. He just hangs there. And I'm like, Cedric, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing? But anyways, after they finally get up the ramp, they all have to put a puzzle, stereotypical Survivor puzzle together. And in the end, I can't even think of what the color the teams were for this one. But the one team prevailed. It came back to being pretty close for the most part.
Yeah.
But I was rooting for the other team that lost.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the team that won, I just remember some standouts were Kyle and I believe Camilla, David, and Star were just some of the people. And they were actually kind of ended up being the last couple that were
and I think
down
it was
to.
Mary and Chrissy on that team too.
Mary and Chrissy, yes, I think that's right. So then we move on to the individual part. So now Say joins in. So it really was close, and a lot of people shocked me. Like I will say, Star had a rocky start to the first half of the season, but she shined in this episode. And she actually did very well on this challenge. She didn't end up winning, but it comes down to just a few bit of them, and Kyle ends up winning that first individual immunity and gets the only merge buff so far in the game.
I feel like Kyle has proven to be a pretty strong player.
Yeah.
I feel like he's not like putting himself too in the spotlight, but he's also got that relationship with Camilla that's really working well behind the scenes.
I'm interested to see because I think if him and Camilla are able to keep up that kind of secret duo power that they have, I think they both have a really good shot of going far, especially Kyle because I think he is proving to be really strong. Seems like he has a decent social game. A lot of people like and respect him, but he's also proven to be really great at challenges.
I could see, though, Camilla flipping on him first.
Yeah, I could too. But I don't know. This season's kind of funny, you know? Even in pre-show interviews and even in this episode, a lot of people are kind of over the whole, like, being cutthroat to your allies. I feel like this season maybe going back to that original kind of Survivor, I don't know, meat, the bread and butter of kind of how it works, where we may see actual allies go to the end together instead of trying to take each other out. So I don't know. It could be interesting.
Maybe.
So I don't know. So then they go to the merge feast, which nothing crazy exciting happened there.
No.
But then we get back and Say takes the time to tell everyone everything she ate.
Okay, let's just talk about Say for a second here. What was it, last week or the week before, when Mary was excited about going to the feast?
Yep.
Say was like, don't rub it in other people's faces. But then when Say found out she was automatically going to go to the feast at the immunity challenge, she just let out this big scream. And then literally, I saw her only talking to the people who didn't get to go to the merge feast.
Yeah.
She's like, we had wings, we had blah, 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 we had blah, blah, blah.
Nachos, beer, no, I don't know.
Yeah,
but it was all kinds of stuff.
You're literally rubbing it in their faces.
Yeah.
You already come across as kind of arrogant anyways, and it's just making you look even worse than you are.
Also, let's be clear. I mean, yes, she won the advantage, but she also was the only person that didn't have to go through that first obstacle course to then get the merge feast too.
Yeah.
So it's like I would be extra annoyed if I was the other tribe mates because I'm like, I had to go through all this. I'm still a muddy mess, and you just were essentially handed it.
Well, and it's kind of like how the last time they played for the feast when she got mad at Mary, Chrissy was like, you didn't, when she sat out, she's like, you didn't do anything, but yet you're here eating all of our fruit. So Say's got a way of grinding her her tribe members' ears for sure.
She's very interesting. We've been saying that all season long. So as we kind of get down to the nitty gritty pre-tribal, it kind of seems like it's going to be very close between a few people, more specifically between Say and Charity.
Yeah.
It seems like there are kind of half of them that really want Charity gone. And it almost seems like it's leaning more towards Charity. But I think also people are leaning into like, is it too obvious? Is it too simple? Is it too basic to get Say out now? Or do we save it? Because a lot of people remaining are fed up with Say's behavior.
Well, and also too, Say brought up Eva's name as well for a while too. And she originally kind of started like, hey, let's get Eva out. But then she changed her tune later on to Charity.
Yeah.
She really only sees Eva as a threat because she has an idol. And to quote her, she's like, anybody who has an idol is a threat to me, except myself.
I will say, too, there's this really interesting moment. As much as Cedric has kind of annoyed me this season, there's this really interesting moment between Cedric and Star, which I think is beautiful in its own way. So basically Cedric is kind of breaking down, like feeling like I'm not really meant to be here. He's hard on himself about, like he recognizes that he's been really flopping in challenges. And he just thinks that he is like the worst. And he's like, I'm disappointing my kids. I'm disappointing my family. I shouldn't be here. And Star and him have this really neat talk or heart to heart, I'm sorry. Just kind of, and Star's just encouraging him like, hey, you're meant to be here. You can do this. Look at everything you've done. And the thing is, while Cedric is incredibly annoying in challenges, that man has been, up till now, some of the only votes or the main decider in the last few. So he has played a very smart game in his own right. As annoying as he can be to us viewers.
Yeah, that moment between the two of them really made me start to like Star a lot.
Yeah.
Star in the beginning, she kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I felt like she was kind of standoffish, but she's really starting to come out of her shell. I feel like ever since like last week when she gave Eva the idol after Eva helped her open that, and then this connection with Cedric, she's definitely formed allies with these moments she's done.
I think if Star is able to continue to build on relationships and maybe rein it in just a hair, I don't know, I can't quite tell if I think she can win the game, but I definitely think she can make it far.
I think she'll make it far. Well, in one of her confessionals, she's like, you know, I wasn't going to come out here and throw out any names. My brother only even said, don't go out there and throw names, but I'm going to throw out names. And
it's
so
the Star way. She's her own person.
I do like her. She seems like a very fun person.
She is not Carolyn, but she does remind me of Carolyn in the way that like you're not gonna control Star. You're not gonna reign in Star. Star is Star, and she's gonna be who she is, and I think that's gonna remain true through however far she makes it in this game. So then we end up, at Tribal Council. And again, it's kind of still abundantly clear that it's probably between Say and Charity, but you don't really know where it's gonna go. We get down to voting, and here's what's interesting. I really thought Say was going to go because the first several votes were all for Say. Then it kind of flops over to Charity. And then it becomes very close there down to the wire. But ultimately, it was Charity who was voted out, which I think is interesting, and here's why. One, it's interesting that that was kind of the immediate target painted aside from Say once they all got to the merge beach, and that's actually what happened. Number two, we talked about last week and maybe the week before about how Charity could be in trouble because she's continually being painted as a target, and she's also been just kind of a negative player. So I think it's interesting that it all caught up to her so quick. I think Charity's issue, potentially, just my personal opinion, is I think she was unable to see. We talk about the humanistic side of the game a lot. I think she maybe played not even like too hard, but I just don't know if she was able to tap into the emotional side of this game.
Well, and it's like we talked about last week. I compared her to Genevieve from last season. Genevieve had that trouble at the beginning until she finally did, and that's what got her farther in the game. I just don't think Charity had enough time to tap into that connection, human emotion with her tribe mates. And maybe if she would have had a few more, days on the island, she could have gotten there. But unfortunately, she met her untimely demise there.
I think, though, at the same time, I think the difference between Genevieve and Charity is I think Genevieve did it as a protection mode, mostly because of maybe experience or past things in the outside world, and then kind of learned, like, I need to be a softer person. Whereas I think Charity could just be a mean girl, and I think there's a stark difference in that.
I feel like it's hard to tell with Charity, because even in one of her confessionals, she's like, outside the game, I'm not a conniving person like this and stuff. So, I mean, it's hard to tell. We don't know these people. She could genuinely be an amazing, nice person, or she could definitely be tricking us as the audience.
I did see a headline post this episode, which really bothered me, which was that Charity was of the belief that no one wanted to vote out Eva, because her name had been thrown around in this episode, you mentioned that, but no one wanted to vote out Eva after everything that happened in the prior episode. And I was like, I think that's such a dirty thing to say, because one, I said this the other day with an Amazing Race thing, but it's like attack on character transcends game.
Yeah.
And you can't attack someone for this very personal thing they shared and then just assume that no one wants to vote them out based off that, because it's like, it's also Survivor. And I think if Eva had done something where people really wanted to vote her out, they would.
Well, it's not even true, too, because Say literally was going to target Eva first until she switched. She put her thought in and was like, Charity's probably somebody that we need to go first.
Yeah.
So it's not true that nobody was going to target you.
Yeah.
People know Eva and Joe have that connection, and they see that as a threat.
Yeah.
They just don't see that it's time to get them out yet.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree with you totally. So this episode was crazy, but you guys, the next episode is going to get crazier. All I know, I don't know all the details, but what I do know is that there are 2 immunity necklaces up for grabs, which makes me think there might be a little double elimination. We've seen this in past seasons of the new era, and what happens is, in the past, 2 necklaces, tribes split in half. One half goes first, the other half goes second. 2 eliminations, like I said. But the first person is the last person pre-merge, technically. And the second person is simply the first member of the jury. So we'll see if that's how it plays out. I don't know what will happen, but I'm interested to see.
Yeah.
So that is all for this time on Survivor Season 48, Survivor Wednesdays on CBS.